Hello.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, I am running pain-free of my Achilles, which has been like half plaguing me the last week.
Oh, good news.
So I'm gonna actually have to do Race to the Stones now.
Why did you not want to?
No, I did, but the whole point of it is to run it well and not just run for completion.
Okay, not just hobble through it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because that wouldn't really mean too much to me this time. Like I really want to try and leave it all out there. So the fact that I could get through my speed session this morning without any twinges was awesome.
Okay. Oh, good. Oh, well, that is good news. Yeah, so you're gonna smash it.
Yes, exactly.
What? Yeah, you've just got what, just a week and a half left?
Yeah, week and a half left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one sort of mini final test of a long run this weekend to double check it's okay with just time. But I
Mm.
imagine running hard on it for an hour versus running soft
Yeah.
on it for 3 hours is roughly the same.
Yeah, definitely. It should be. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really
Yeah.
positive. Yeah, unfortunately, we've got the opposite story over here where poor Bryony's got an injury and she's having to put everything on pause
Oh no.
for her dragon's back training until she sees a consultant. It's a nerve thing.
Ugh.
So I don't know. Absolutely, I could bore you to death about quads, knees, ITB, but nerves, absolutely no idea.
No. Whereabouts is the nerve?
I
Like,
think it's in her foot.
mm,
So yeah, so that's very disappointing because her training had started really well, and we were very excited. I was, really enjoying watching
me
her
too.
progress and her miles, but there we go.
Yeah,
That
you've
is the
you've got to be at 100% for Dragon's Back, really, don't you? It's
yes,
ridiculous.
yes, yes. No, exactly. And I think, yeah, I mean, for any multi-day, um, you don't want to be putting yourself in a position where you're hobbling in at 10 o'clock at night because
No.
you're just going to go backwards from there, aren't you?
Yeah, it'd be straight
Um,
down to the hatchling, wouldn't it?
yeah, and particularly if you're personal admin, which from what I can gather is a huge part of the race and how you manage it. As a first time multi-day racer, I imagine that's going to take some time to bed in. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Yeah, so I really feel for her at the moment. So we're just going to let her pause and put everything on hold for the time being while she gets that investigated.
Oh man, that's a bummer.
Um, but up and
Okay.
well, like, we had Western States this weekend, didn't we?
We did.
And not far away is Badwater.
Yes.
And I assume you're going to be quizzing Susie on that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, But
Yeah.
someone said, oh, it was my daughter yesterday. She said, "Do you know where the hottest place on earth is?" And I sort of said, "Oh, I don't know, the Sahara or somewhere in Saudi Arabia." She was like,
Yeah.
"No, it's a place called Death Valley." And I said, "Ah, well, let me show you a few pictures of that." And I showed her some pictures of Laura Watts standing next to the temperature gauge, which said
Yeah.
51. And she said, "But yes, but today it's 61. They've got a heat wave."
61.
I was like, oh my God. So I don't know if, yeah.
I didn't even know it got that high
I mean,
in
it's
the
just,
world.
it's, I know. I mean, it's almost just like telephone numbers in a way. It's just almost beyond comprehension. But I
It
did
is.
also point out that as we've all been talking about the weather, because we love it so much, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Our heat is different to everybody else's heat, and it's so much worse, and it's so much more muggy and humid. And I did say in the desert, I mean, obviously it's hot and it's incredibly difficult, but it's dry, which
Mm.
somehow I think does make it
More
more less
bearable.
unbearable than humid, if that's the right way to put it.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm going to agree because yeah, we're being British, we have to agree about the weather, don't we?
Oh yes,
But us
absolutely.
versus the world,
We have the most weather to anyone else.
we do. And that's why people flock here. But I mean, obviously Susie today is experienced in all heat, isn't she? So and
Mm.
multi-day, so she brings it all together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She did the coastal challenge, which was in Costa Rica.
Yes, that
Um,
sounds horrible.
yeah, I must admit, wading through jungly rivers where there's sort of all sorts of leeches and fish,
Yeah,
and yeah, no, and just insects, full stop. That's probably my least favorite environment.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll probably repeat myself when she's on, but usually every race I hear about, I'm ready to jump on and say yes to. And as soon as she started talking about the Jungle Ultra,
Mm.
immediately I was like, this sounds horrible. I think I'll cross this one off.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's also, I have to say, it's one of the most iconic pictures to me of Susie. There's just a fabulous picture of her. She's sort of just about to lift a leg to get out of the river,
right.
and she just looks like Lara Croft. I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah,
Awesome.
I've had a girl crush on Susie since um, I knew her. I mean, back in the good old Twitter days,
Hmm.
when the running community was fabulous on there.
Right.
She was always um, she was always just such a friendly um, face on Twitter actually, and she took some of the ribbling really well, as well as just being a really friendly and happy face. That was before, almost before selfies became a thing. You had Susie's happy face sharing this, whatever run she was doing. Um, yeah, and she was always welcoming. She was always, she's not competitive. She's not, um, in a sort of female bitchy way. She's just, yeah, as a community encourager, she's always been fabulous.
See,
Anyway,
I completely missed the running Twitter side.
oh yeah, it was good. But she's here. She can tell us all about it. Susie has entered the Run Ultra room. So we'll let her get her stuff together. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm at my husband's desk and he's got like an extra screen and I
Oh,
keep losing because I'm such an old biddy, Kate. I keep losing the cursor.
oh,
It's
you
up
need to
there and
make
I
it
can't
into
get it
like a
back down to
shape.
the laptop.
Well,
Honestly.
we've both got our glasses on, and you're not allowed to say you're no, but you're an old biddy because then that makes me an old biddy.
No, you're not that much older than me.
Oh, yeah, it's a couple of years at least. Anyway,
That's not a lot, is it, really, to be honest?
Robin, Susie, Robin.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, Susie.
Robin is my young compadre who I live through everything with him now, and he's really really easy to get to enter a race. So just get
Oh,
get,
is
get in there.
he?
Oh
Oh, it's
yeah.
one of my favourite pastimes, talking people into doing races.
Yeah, I'm very easily encouraged. I was
Oh,
saying before, except when I heard you talk about the Jungle Ultra, that's the first one I've crossed off my list.
that was honestly, that was absolutely disgusting. I wouldn't try and talk anybody into that. It was horrendous.
It
Um,
sounded horrendous.
it was awful. Can you hear me okay? I have got a microphone set up here.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine. Does Steve still run it, do you know?
What?
The Coastal Challenge?
Oh no, there's two jungle ones. So the coastal ones, actually, I would recommend that. There's a long one. I've only ever done there's the expedition and there's the Challenger, and I've only done the Challenger, which is, I don't know, it's about 85 miles in a week anyway, so it's not insignificant. He does do that, yeah. That's
Mhm.
fun. That is actually really well organized and quite adventurous because it's a mix of jungle and desert and beach.
Mm.
Whereas
Right.
the Jungle Ultra is beyond the ultimate.
Ah, okay.
What's his name? Nice guy, really nice guy. Beard. He's
Chris.
fine, huh?
Oh, no, not Chris King.
Yes, Chris King. Yeah, he looks after the spine now as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of his ones, honestly.
Uh,
Yeah.
I lost about a stone in 6 days. How's that possible?
Oh, yeah, well, you haven't got much of that to lose. Well,
Yeah.
so yeah. So did you know what you were letting yourself in for then, or
No, of course I didn't. I saw it on telly and it was on Channel 5 and there was some guy having a lovely time in the jungle and it was having a lovely time. I was like, oh, I can do that. I love running, ultra running. And then it turns out, and then actually I think about a week, like 2 weeks later, Chris King said, do you want to do this race? And I was like, yeah, it looks fine. 6 days. So I've done that sort of format. And then it turns out actually that the people who made the documentary, the jungle was so thick they could only get to 5% of the race. So that's
Mm-mm.
why it looked fine because they were near a road. And 95% of it was some sort of deep jungle horror show. It was, yeah. I was my own worst enemy. My admin for that was just shocking. Everything got wet on day one, like my sleeping bag, everything, and then it never dried.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. I remember you were talking about how someone almost in a huff did your hammock for you one day.
Yeah, some
You just
nutty
couldn't watch it anymore.
nutty SAS guy. Yeah.
But they only did it that one day. They didn't do it the
Only
rest
one
of
day.
the
I
day.
didn't ask him again. It was
I did.
amazing, but oh, it was awful. I had ants bugs and everything, all my food. Honestly, it was just been. You'd open it up and it'd just be like insects eating it, and you'd be like, oh
Oh,
god,
oh no, that's horrific.
it was horrific.
Oh my God. Had you done it after the coastal challenge then?
No, and I said I'd never set foot in a jungle again. And then Steve asked me to do the
Uh,
coast. Made it sound really, really lovely. But it was like it's not too bad that one. It is a bit
yeah.
jungly, but just when you're sick of it, you pop out on a beach. And that one, it's not self-sufficient. So you finish, you go, I'm just gonna go and get a pizza. So
nice.
Okay, we like anything that ends with a pizza is
yeah,
good.
I could literally have a glass of wine and some chips at the end of a stage. It's okay, I'm all right, I'm
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Oh, there. Well, I know which one gets my vote.
Yeah, yeah, true.
You go on like the Beyond the Ultimate site, and it's such a beautiful site. You're like, oh, jungle, mountain, desert. Like, oh, these all look great
They
adventures.
are incredible. They are really, really incredible. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from it. My admin. I was my own worst enemy in that, and I didn't really train for it properly. So I made it so much harder for myself.
I mean, how do you train for that though? Really?
Not in Surrey. I mean,
Yeah.
running up and down Box Hill is not the same as sliding down a muddy mountain for two and a
No.
half hours, is it?
No.
I can
Anyway,
kind of see how John Shield did well because he's ex-army, so
yeah.
you can imagine them,
Mm.
training with the
There are
full
very
backpack.
nutty people in that cohort, I'm going to say.
Mm.
Very, very, some people you sort of didn't really ask what they did for a living if that's what they did for fun. Anyway, the podcast hasn't started, has it?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm afraid to say I'm recording everything.
It was
Catherine's here. Hello, Catherine. Just sitting in there.
Yes, we're annoyed. I know Robin's got lots of questions for you
Okay,
because
fab.
he
I've got a
absolutely.
hard stop at 2, unfortunately, because I've got to
Yeah,
go
no,
to.
that's fine. That's
fine.
fine.
So you're my new personal hero, Susie, after reading straight, listening to that book.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind. Thank you.
Because like previously, like full disclosure, like I'd see you on Instagram. I'd be like, oh, she's a Peloton instructor. She does some running. Maybe she's run a couple marathons or something like that.
Yeah.
And
A lot
then,
of people don't actually know
but
that
yeah,
years, me and Kate traipsing up and down the North Downs Way in the mud, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Years
yeah,
ago.
exactly. I mean, and
always.
I'm relatively new to like the ultra running scene. So then when someone actually recommended your book because of the track race chapter, because
Oh, yeah, two things.
I'm doing Battersea Park in September.
Are you?
So I was
That
like,
the
oh,
same
I'll listen
one?
to it. For what, sorry?
Is that the same race? Because I know that it was in Tooting and they moved it to Battersea.
Yeah, same one, same one.
Have
Yeah, I know.
have fun. I crewed my friend there 2 years ago, and I turned up at about, I don't know, it was like 11:01 or something to sort of take over from the daytime crew, and somebody was literally crawling to the tent.
Well, that's a
Somebody
good
was throwing
sign.
up in a bin, but two people were like smashing it, still like 7 minute miling, and then there's somebody was like shuffling. Somebody was eating a burger, and I was like, ultra running, here we are. It was all kicking off, like everybody, like all different extremes. I was like, oh,
Oh man, it's the first time my wife's going to be crewing me as well,
brilliant.
along with a couple of other people. So it'll be quite a
But
rude
you're gonna love
awakening.
it. You just
Yeah.
keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving.
Okay. I'm
You
very
walk,
excited
even when
for
you're
it.
eating, walk, just keep going, keep going, keep going. I was one lap down from third place. And so I was 400 meters. So, that's all it was between me and fourth. And it was the lamest race to third at the end.
It's amazing that, isn't it? After 24 hours that it could be that
400 meters.
close.
Yeah, there was something like, it was probably, but I think by the end there was maybe, I don't know, 500 meters, and it was hardly anything in it in the end.
Mm.
Oh my God. How do you get to go around in a circle for 24 hours?
Oh yeah,
What do you
it
do
was
in your head?
everything. I was bored. I ran out of thought. There was not a single original thought in my head, Kate. I was sick of myself, sick of my own inside. It was just, I was phoning people up and all sorts.
It's a good
It's not
idea.
a bad idea.
Yes, of course. I suppose you're not running like out of breath. Yeah, just ring. You could ring. You could go through your entire phone book, couldn't you?
I called Robbie Britton, and I didn't realize what the time was, just to ask him if I was having too many wheeze. And I don't really know Robbie that well. I don't know why I thought I'd ask him. Um, anyway.
Because he's done it a million times, hasn't he? He's
Yeah,
the
yeah, he was giving me some advice. I thought, oh no, I'll call him. And I think it was like 11 o'clock in the UK, so it was midnight in France where he lived. And he very nicely answered the phone. And then all I just came to my opening gambit was, am I pissing too much? And he was like, hello, Susie. Okay, right. So we start.
restart. Podcast is
Oh,
recording from now.
so that's why you that's why you picked up Susie's book, but then you learned.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I learned that you went so far back, and there's just you've done a million races. There's like experience all over the world. It was riveting. It really was, and I
Thank
really
you.
liked, especially that you read it yourself on the audio book.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah,
How
that
did
was.
you find that?
Do you know what? I was actually okay with that. A few people said, "Oh, it's really tough. It's really
Mm.
hard." But because I do a lot of speaking in my job, and I'm sort of used to the setup, so that in itself wasn't that difficult. And I've done race commentary, so I can talk. I can like my voice. I can just keep going. But what was strangely difficult was reading verbatim, just reading verbatim. So it'd
Yeah.
be, I've written it, and I would find myself jumping ahead and finishing off sentences because I knew what was coming, but it wasn't exactly how it was written. And so, and then there was a poor woman who had to edit me, she was constantly on. It's like, no, you forgot the and out in that sentence so I start talking. So that was actually quite tough to read it exactly as it was written and use the exact terminology that I'd used in the book, which is what we had to literally stick to the script. So that was that I didn't get any better at that across the 3 days which I took to record it, but I didn't mind the process at all, actually. And it's very different. If you ever write a book,
Mm.
it's actually very different reading it out to writing it. And so I sort of adapted. Now I know that actually, if you're writing it, stand and read it out, whatever you've written down, because it does sound slightly different, and you can actually
I
tweak
was
it
going to
and
say,
improve
did
it.
it give you a different perspective on what you
Yeah.
did yourself?
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Yeah, I didn't really enjoy writing the book at all. I'm not going to lie. I spent most of it. It took a while to be convinced to write it, and I spent most of it thinking, Nobody cares. This is really not interesting." And proper imposter syndrome because Kate, Kate knows me. She knows. I mean, I'm very much a middle packer. I'm not, occasionally I've done a reasonable result, but not in comparison to the hundreds of good quality elite ultra runners that are out there. I'm not one of those people. And in ultra running circles, I would say I'm relatively unremarkable. So I was just sort of persecuted by that thought quite a lot. But what I have done is done that middle packing, done that sort of average performance a lot in a lot of incredible places. I've met some really interesting people, and I found myself in some quite interesting situations, which all make for a good book.
Yeah.
But the process itself was difficult. I haven't got a great memory being a woman of 50 years old, so I had to use lots of different tools and things to trigger it. And what was an enjoyable part of the book was just actually revisiting some things I thought I'd forgotten about. And then I'd chat to race directors or somebody that was at the race, or I'd start scrolling back to the photos and finding photos I'd not looked at for like 10 years. And it would trigger memories
Yeah.
of things I had done and things I'd said. And so that actually was enjoyable. And what is interesting about my poor memory is the more you think back on something, the more you can actually unearth and remember. So that was actually a really enjoyable bit.
Well, I mean, I was saying to Robin, but just before you came on, that actually saying you're just a a mid-pack runner, I think is you inspire people and you were
Mm,
so welcoming. And I always said,
yeah.
you're always that happy, cheerful face on Twitter, on your
Yeah.
whatever it was, doing your race. And I think that makes you a million times more relatable than the top elites that win everything because they're in a different atmosphere to anyone else. You are, if you like, the girl next door.
Yeah, I like to think, and I don't know if I'm being very, if I'm giving myself too much of a thing here, but I like to think that when we were doing ultra running, when I started ultra running, there were not that many in races anyway. There weren't that many women doing it, and I hit it at a time and in a way which made it appear accessible to more people because I was only doing, 40, sort of, some people out ultra runners doing like 100-mile weeks. I was not doing that. I had to go to work. Like I was fitting this in around my life.
Mm.
And so I'd like to think that it, from outwardly looking in, it would look like actually maybe somebody would look at me and think maybe I can actually
Yes.
do that ultra marathon and give it a go. So
Yeah.
hopefully I've contributed in that way.
100%.
Yeah, and you started with quite a. Oh, you're another advocate for the run commute
I
that you
love
did to
that.
the museum, was it, for
Yeah,
so
that's
long?
the only way I could get the training in, because I worked full time and I was a single mum, so I had to sort of run to the station and then run from the station to work. And I developed this thing where I couldn't run down. I was trying to heat map London. I've still got this heat map, where I would run a new. It doesn't matter how short it was, a new back street or road around London. I was trying to fill up the map of London, and there's a whole sort of, I think, sort of bit in the middle where I think I've run almost every road in London, and I just run a
Whoa.
slightly different route each time. And it actually was quite enjoyable because you'll be running like, oh, that's there, or like there's so much stuff close together in London. So a lot of run commuting. So I'd run, and a lot of going out at my lunchtime and running. And then when I did some triathlons, I did an Ironman. I switched the train to a bike, and so I'd cycle halfway to London, run the last 10K, go to work, and do the whole thing backwards. I don't know how I did it on reflection. It just,
That's hard. Yeah.
but when you're in the middle of quite tough training, you don't quite realize how fit you are or what you're doing, and it's not until after it's done you think, how did I do that? But yeah, that was incredibly tough. But yeah, the run commute was. It was, I really enjoyed that actually. I really enjoyed it.
I've always been really jealous of people who are sort of 3 miles away or two, three, four.
Yeah,
As you say, you
perfect.
put it in without impacting the rest of your life in a way, can't you?
Yeah, because if it adds up because I'll do, I don't know, it was like 4 or 5 miles in the morning, maybe more, maybe six if I'd got a slightly earlier train, I'd be able to add a bit more on, and then maybe one or two at lunch, three at lunch, and then I'd come straight back and it would be like another 3 miles. So before you know, you've done a 10-mile day, and actually breaking it up isn't such a bad thing for ultra running because you're slightly tired on the way home and you're running on tired legs. And the other thing, which was really good about my run commute, was I had a a pack on almost all the time with like my computer in it, change of clothes. And so whenever I'd switch from that to a race which required 6-day race or whatever, I was actually a little bit toughened up to a rucksack. You put a rucksack on me now, oh God, I haven't run with a weighted rucksack for some considerable time, so it would take some adjustment, but it wasn't too unnatural for me to switch
Yeah, that
from
makes
my run commute to running with quite a heavy pack.
great training.
It's
Yeah,
funny
so
how many people sort of slip in that they've done an Ironman. Like my
oh yeah.
painter and decorator was around the other day. It's, oh yeah, you do a bit of running, do you? Yeah, I've done 3 Ironmans or something like that. You just never know with some people.
I
Just
hated the Iron Man, but yeah, I did it. I just did it because I thought, oh, I'll tick it off. How hard can it be? Turns out very hard if you don't do the bike training, which is what happened to me. It was awful. I did the swim training because I couldn't really do front crawl. And so I got a swim coach and I dedicated quite a bit of time to that because the first couple of times I went into the open water, I had the proper fight or flight response. I had a full-blown panic attack in the water. And I just thought I've got to get over this. And I did some swim races, which I was diabolical at. So only time I've ever come last in races, swim races. And
Oh,
the one and only time I did a sportive to train for Ironman, and it was, I don't know, 70 miles or something. I was knackered, and they were
mm.
deflating the arch by the time I I finished, and I was like, oh no, not very strong at this. And so I kept up the bike training, but I was doing the Marathon des Sables, and so I just sort of focused on that, and that was in April. And then it was Ironman UK, which was there was only one at the time then in Bolton, and that was at
Mm.
the beginning of July. So I gave myself like in April, May, June, I gave myself something like 8 weeks to train for a 112-mile bike ride, having never cycled more than 5 miles. And it was hard, shall we say. I needed more time.
Bolton's not exactly the easiest place to do anything either, is it?
I didn't know that, but it was the only Ironman in the UK, and I couldn't be bothered with the faff of going abroad and packing the bike. And I don't know how to put a bike together. I'm not going to put my bike together. So I was like, oh, I'll just do Bolton. That'll be fine. Tick it off. And then I didn't want to do it by myself. So my husband was just minding his own business at work, and he got an email saying, well done for entering Ironman UK. He was like, what? I was like, I don't want to do it by myself. He was like, I don't want to do an Ironman. I was like, no, we'll have a laugh. No laughs were had, I tell you, not one.
I
oh,
love the
you can laugh now though, so a delayed laugh.
Yeah, 10 years to get over Ironman UK. Yeah.
I love the enter someone else into a race surprise.
Um,
It's great that that's even possible, isn't it? You shouldn't be allowed to do it.
I know. I knew all his details. It was fine. I paid for him. Happy birthday or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, surprise.
yeah, it was.
Oh, that's hilarious. Go on, next.
Next thing. Well, you mentioned Marathon des Sables, didn't you? So we may
Mm.
as well talk about it. It's because you've done it how many times now? Was it 4 in the book, or was
Four
it?
times. I've
Yeah.
returned as press. They invited me back press, which was great because I got to fly in the helicopter and run one stage at the beginning and got fed properly. Um, it was great. Yeah, yeah, love it. One of my favorite races.
I really like the description of when you first get there and people, it's like the beginning of Glastonbury and you need to get a good sort of tent spot.
Yes, they've
Uh,
changed this now. They've changed this
okay.
now, but it was a yeah. So you now just get attributed a tent because it used to be an absolute bun fight. It used to be back in the day. You had all arrived, and the British contingent are the largest contingent, followed by the French, and then there's other different nationalities there. But the British contingent, we have the camp that is set out in Horseshoe. And the sort of furthest point away, it's not really that far from the finish line, but it's quite far when you have got bleeding feet
Right.
and you run 50 miles today, and then yesterday you ran 25 miles. So there's sort of slightly more alluring tents, whether you're just near everything. And so those are the really good ones. And so that we'd all arrive in the desert roughly in a big convoy, and then everyone just like fly out the coaches. And we sent our fastest runner. This guy was like a sort of 3 hour marathon. We're like, get the tents, we'll bring you back. And it's still absolute melee, but now you just get attributed a tent number and you sort of get what you're given. There's sort of just a tiny element of fun taken away, but also
Yeah.
probably a lot more sensible because it was slightly chaotic.
That's hilarious. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Probably quite disconcerting for someone who doesn't know what's going on.
Oh yeah, no, we this is handed down information. So somebody told me this, and then you're in all the coaches on the way up, and there's lots of rumors. First time you do it, lots of rumors, lots of things which which you hear, and you don't know how much of it's real or not. So that was the very first time. So by the time I was second and third time, I was like the oracle on the coach. Here's what you need to do, everybody. But then withholding some of the useful information just for me in my tent.
Yeah. I went
Brilliant.
and helped out a backyard ultra in
Did you?
Suffolk, and it's still very much just like that. Everyone turns up just first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock, and they had to literally hold them back because everyone wanted to get their gazebo and tent packed up as close to the finish line as possible. Because
Yeah.
the number of laps you're doing, the distance between your tent and back to the finish line
Yeah.
is going to really add up. So
Yeah,
it
it
got quite,
does.
yeah,
Yeah.
quite fierce.
Yeah, and I think sometimes in the marathon style particularly, I think some people would get quite concerned about sunrise and sunset, but the camp moves, so that's a complete waste of energy doing
Right.
that. I'm not very good. I never have been, and I almost certainly never will be very good at this sort of level of admin. It's just something I pay too much attention to, and I've actually booked in for a race later on this year, and I feel that exactly that I've got crew, and apparently somebody asked me last week whether I'd booked my crew tent spot, and I said no, and then I don't they've sold out, so I don't know what my I'm never very good at this sort of level of detail. I just think about the event and the distance, and I tend not to worry too much about other bits and pieces, and I think that's served me quite well. I know some people love the detail. I never have been too fussed about it.
What are we allowed to know what this race is?
Yes. When's this going out?
Um, Sunday?
No.
Damn
I'll
it.
let you know. I'll let you know due course. I'm 90% sure I'm going to do it.
What?
Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, yes. I mean, I can delay it by a week, but I don't suppose that would
Oh
make.
no, it's all right. No, 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 don't worry. It's not making sense. It's fine. It's not a big deal race. I'm
Right.
just kind of a bit low key about my races these days.
Well,
Yeah, fair enough.
do these socials to find out what that will be.
I'm not doing a big announcement either. I'll just turn up and give it a go, probably.
I really liked on Marathon de Sable the talk of going up the mountain and the
Oh yeah.
difficulty that was for you and how steep and rocky and stuff it was up and over.
Mm.
Because I remember feeling similar, although it's not the same. Doing my first fell race and just getting to the first really steep descent and see people run down it. I was just sitting. You sort of look to the side like, are we all supposed to run down here? Are we not
Yeah.
just carefully treading? What was that? What was that like for you?
It was well going back to the fact I didn't really pay too much attention to what was ahead, and they don't let you know. They move the course around, and it's not the same course, so people can't gain an advantage by going to train. The Marathon des Sables is roughly in the same area of the Sahara, and almost every edition includes they call them Jebels, this mountain, and it is. I'm not downplaying it. It's an absolutely huge mountain. It's flat and then it's just there, and you have to go up and over it. And actually, one of the years we had to do it 2 times, which seemed unnecessary. Um, it's it's quite technical, and I wasn't expecting that. I was not. I was expecting sand dunes, sand, and maybe some rocky paths in a desert. This is a proper mountain at the top. You have to sort of pull yourself up, and I really wasn't prepared for it. I'm terrified of heights, and so I can remember thinking, oh my goodness, and you would climb up. It's a path of it's sand, and then you have to get to proper rock climbing with ropes at the top, and I just wasn't mentally prepared for it, emotionally prepared for it, or prepared for it by any level of skill at all. It was awful, and I was sort of blocking. When I got there, I just froze. I just completely froze for fear of heights and just of like, what am I doing here? I was not expecting to do some mountain climbing, and I completely blocked this single file path, and I started to get shouted at. Get her out of the way. But there was nowhere for me to go. I was hanging. There was nowhere for me to go. Anyway, t really terrifying. Somebody just shoved me onto a ledge, And then so a couple of kind people helped me onto the top, and I was remember being on all fours, and I was shaking with fear, and people just sort of running over me and past me, terrifying. I did it though, and that was a real moment for me. It was that or DNF on that mountain, but then whatever happened, I would have had to got down or up to get out of the race, so I just had to keep going.
Yeah.
And then when I went back, it was all I could think about was that mountain. I was like, I'm going to have to do that mountain again. Oh, no, I'm going to have to do that mountain again. It was terrifying. I've never gone up and over that thing without being absolutely terrified.
Oh,
Absolutely terrified.
but you did do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then actually, when I went back as the press team, uh, and it just this is what ultra running does to you. I went back and I hadn't been starving hungry for 4 days or run, I don't know, 120 miles by this point, and my feet were completely fine because I was sleeping in a much nicer tent. I went back to that point to capture people going up, and it didn't look as bad because I wasn't so tired. You're not tired. I was like, this isn't too bad. And then the guy that sets the ropes up for the runners, we were there with him, so we all arrived at the same time. The man went up in a pair of flip-flops, right? Attached the ropes and came back down again in a pair of flip-flops. And I was like, what? I mean, he lives in the Sahara, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad if you take out all the fatigue and the hunger and everything's so heightened. And when you're in an environment like that and you're that tired and you're really deep into the race, so it didn't look as terrifying the last time I saw it, but I think I'd probably be equally terrified if I had to go over it again.
Have you done anything sort of mountainous since? As
I
it
hate things like
no, yeah.
no. UTMB has been, it's just not my scene. I'll be really honest with you. It's just not my scene. I was in Chamonix last year. I was supposed to do one of the UTMB races, and I absolutely hate mountains. It's just not my wheelhouse. I don't like heights. I don't like technical ascents or descents. I really enjoy running. A lot of my 100-mile big races are notably flat, running around a 400-meter track, or Keys 100 is just completely flat, or road races, very flat 100-mile road races. That's that's my sort of space. I like to run for as long as I possibly can, and mountains terrify me. But I did get the opportunity to go to Chamonix, and I thought, well, you've got to go, haven't you? If you get the opportunity, you've got to go. And my friend who convinced me to go broke her leg, and I just point blank refused to do it by myself because she's helped me over in perilous situations before. And I think. And we did a little hike, a little sort of 4 mile run. She walked and I did a run the next day. I didn't do the race. I was invited to do the race commentating instead. Um, and it confirmed all of my thoughts. It was terrifying. It was awful. There's a video of me on my social media where I've got 3 points of contact walking down a trail in Chamonix, and two runners come flying past me with a GoPro, and I'm just like sticking to the wall. So it's just not my thing, I'm going to say. It's just not my thing. I really
I think
don't
that's
enjoy
that's one of the joys of ultra running, though. There's space for any type of
it.
running you want to do. It's there, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm
yeah.
starting to wonder where I can be a bit more picky as well.
Yeah, I love being by the sea. I like coastal paths. Oh, my dog's just come in. Hang on, let me shut the door. Right. Okay, he's gone again. He's gone again. I like coastal paths. I like roads. I like deserts. I like hot, challenging environments. Mountains aren't my thing. I'm not saying I'd never do it. I think that if there's an opportunity to do something which might be a bit more bite-sized, I would definitely give it a go, because I'm very aware that growth and good experiences often lie when you push yourself out of your comfort zone. But it would have to be. I like talking people into doing stuff with me. I would actually wouldn't do it by myself. I'd have to have a little group with me, some
Mm.
friends.
Yeah, yeah. That would make it fun then, wouldn't it? Have the support.
Exactly, and it wouldn't be all about me having a panic attack on a mountain.
Definitely. I was supposed to do some support for someone doing a great big round in Snowdonia a month or so ago, and it got called off, and I was actually quite pleased actually at the end of it, because it was going up some like Trifan. I'd never like some steep like Welsh mountains. I was quite
Going up what's is it Crib Goch? Is that the one?
Oh, yeah, close enough to that. Yeah, I knew a friend went over that in a race last weekend. Was it the Welsh? It was one of the Welsh sky running ones. Anyway, he told me it was literally like hands and feet side by side all the way across it,
No,
like
sorry. No,
terrified, but he did it.
no.
Yeah,
No. Not my thing. Give me a flat straight line 100 miles on go.
yeah.
No, no, no. I want that stuff because I can't run anymore. So I prefer to crawl.
Yeah.
Can't run anymore yet.
Sorry.
Can't run anymore yet,
Oh
Kate. We'll
yes. Oh no, yeah,
stay
yeah.
positive.
Not as much. Not as much. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking ahead to Badwater now. You
Yes.
know Laura, don't you?
Laura's out there. Who else? Ali. Ali's out there.
Is she?
Ali, what's her name? Is it Ali Young? Is that her name? She's going to do quite well. She's sort of semi-elite, I'm going to say. Uh, Ali Young.
Ali Young.
She's
Okay.
fast. She's really fast. She's been GB. Oh, she's GB Ultra Teamer. She has been. She also doesn't take herself too seriously. She's going out there. I think she'll be one to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Western States has just happened, which was
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Good old Fee Pascal.
yeah.
With was just
Debbie was there, who I've
Debbie.
known for
Was.
years. Debbie
Debbie
smashed. I mean,
Palmer.
she said she was throwing up for I don't know 90 miles of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
Not
I
quite
thought if
okay then.
yeah, but if Debbie's doing Western States in 27 hours, I have no chance. None. Like zero. But I will keep applying, you never know.
Oh no, I think that's unfair actually because I think you're probably more heat adapted because you enjoy the heat and you've done hot racing. I mean, obviously, I know Debbie has, but I would say she works hard for them, whereas you
Yeah.
thrive in them. You
I do like it when it's hotter, yes. Yeah, I do really enjoy the heat. But I'm slightly losing the skill for it as I've got a little bit older, I think. Having a hot flush in a desert's less fun. Less fun.
that's,
I'm like, oh
that's
no.
what
Okay.
Badwater was like for you. I mean, how hot was it? Was it as bad as a hot flush?
Yeah, it was hotter. It's I can't there's a reason that the entry requires, it really favors if you have been in Death Valley or crewed. And I didn't understand quite why until I went out there. I always said I wanted to do Badwater. It was always up there for years and years and years. And I can remember asking James Elson, he was one of two people, I asked, how do I get in? And he said, you need to crew, really. You need to obviously meet the qualifying standards. And I didn't understand why until I finally got invited on to a crew. And I flew out to Vegas, drove into Death Valley, and honestly, it's just absolutely disgusting how hot it is. Really, really hot. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. There's two places in the middle. One Stovepipe Wells, another one called Panamint Springs, where you can get petrol and something to drink. Other than that, there's no phone signal. There's nothing. It's incredibly dangerous, and I mean, it really is incredibly dangerous. And the first time I crewed, I was, I was sort of, oh, this is really exciting. But by the second night, I was completely, like, absolutely wired. I was hallucinating. And I was on the crew. It was just like, this is not good. This is not good. We were all like in absolute bits. And I remember sending a message to all my run friends in capital letters saying, never, ever let me enter this race. Because I've never seen anything like it. I've seen people in a right state in Marathon Saab, 100 milers. I've seen people in all sorts of states. I've never, ever, and still to this day, have seen people in a state like I have in Badwater. And I go and I help out at the race. I'm not going this year, but I helped out last year. And again, it's absolutely astonishing what people can do. And I've crewed it now 3 times, worked on the race once and then run it once. And every time I got into this sort of cycle, this pattern of going to crew it, seeing it and going, no, no, I'm sorry. And then not wanting to do it. And then I did it a second time. And I was with somebody, a really great guy called Steve Gordon. And he was running along. We were, I don't know, maybe 100 miles in. And he was like, I've got my eyes, my eyes. And he had contact lenses in. And his lenses were melting onto his eyeballs.
Oh
And so we
my
were
God.
having to sort of scratch them off his eyes, try and peel them off his eyes. And then he put his glasses on. But it's
Oh my
and his
God.
legs were beginning to blister. And I was with I had one bit where some race crew were there, and they had a quite a sophisticated thermometer, and they measured the ambient air temperature about 1 meter off the tarmac, and it was 76 degrees Celsius. So the temperature, when you look at your temperature of, weather forecast, that's always taken in the shade. It was, it is to say it's hot is an understatement. It's incredibly dangerously hot, and you need to know what you're doing. So that's where you need to go out and pace. And so after that, I was like, I'm never entering this race. It's too much. And then I crewed Debbie, and she was the one that just there was something about the way she handled it. I mean, she made it look easier because I didn't really think about this because she was so incredibly good at ultra running, but we were so deep in the race. And then she'd been throwing up for miles, and we were on this mountain. It was horrendous, and she just looked me just dead in the eye and said, "You know you're going to do this race. Like, stop crewing people." And I was like, "Okay." And then so I got selected in the end. But it's you really do need to know what you're doing. As the average survival time in Death Valley is 14 hours, and
Wow.
you're expected to run for 135 miles through
Wow.
that with only your crew keeping you alive, and the crew have got to keep themselves alive. And I'm not just throwing that out lightly. It is a very, very tough environment with no phone signal, and you can't run out of water, and cars genuinely just burst into flames. So
I think Laura had problems last year with her crew, didn't she? Or
oh,
her
did she?
crew struggled. I was just trying to find them.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah. I suppose, as you say, if
It's
you're experienced and
it's the toughest crewing gig I've had. I mean, I had to run like first time I crewed, I think I did sort of, I don't know, 50 miles. I mean, and then expected to drive lose 2 nights sleep. I've run 50 miles through Death Valley. It's not insignificant. It's not insignificant to crew. So you've got to pick your crew very well. Absolutely astonishing race though, astonishing. And for the props to Chris Kossman and the team he has around him to be able to put that race on in one of the most dangerous places in the world, and have a huge success rate of finishers every year, and to have no major dramas in all the years it's been going on is absolute kudos to the race, and part of the process which they use to select people. You will get selected if you have built up the CV, and that's really for a reason. That's for everybody's safety. So what
yeah.
a race, though! What
Would
a race!
Was it? What are the logistics like for having that much ice and liquid
Mm.
and stuff? You're sort of, from what I remember, you sort of leapfrogging your runner every couple of miles.
Yeah, it's about so you start off at night, which is okay for temperature wise, because the night's, I don't know, 39 degrees. But you're immediately missing a night's sleep. But it's still very hot. So normally it's like every 2 miles or so. There's no, like, there's timing stations, there's no checkpoints. You're not going to stop and get like some salted potatoes. Like, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. So your admin has to be really, really on point. You have two opportunities to buy ice in the main part of the course,
Right.
and so lots of coolers. You need a big car. You've got to fit water coolers in them, keep the ice frozen. One year we bought some dry ice to keep normal ice frozen, but there's considerations. You can't really have your air con on all the time in case your car does overheat. And if your car overheats, you're in serious trouble. So you're just sitting there sort of sweltering in the car, and you have to just
wow.
manage it, really manage it. It's a tough gig.
I mean, are you able to, is there enough ice? I mean, it's not like a case where you turn up and your crew's looking for ice for the next section, but
They
that,
they know where the ice is. The two places to buy the ice know that the race happens. They get extra ice. They have lorries with like a sort of, so they know it's happening, and they bring in extra ice. I think in the past, I think some people have overbought ice. I mean, better too much than too little. But what that does mean is that the people at the end, if they run out of ice, they're out of the race. So you just have to be quite mindful of managing it. But it is a major panic. You think you can't run out of ice. If you run out of ice, you're out of the race.
yeah.
It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. But the places, the two main stops on the route, this race happens every year. They know,
Yeah.
so they come with a huge truck full of extra ice. So it shouldn't be a problem. But it is, if yeah, you've got to get it right as the crew, and it's very very hard to judge that. I would say we've been okay. We've been okay.
So is that ice in one of those bandana thingies, ice in what arm sleeves and stuff?
Arm
Is
sleeves, drinks, arm sleeves, bra. I had a skirt which I stitched on some pockets inside. So you have to go for your sort of main areas where your arteries and the blood flow is. So if you're cooling the front of your arms, that's really going to help bring your heart rate down. And I had it to the top of my legs, basically. Just I had ice literally in my shorts, in my sleeves, in my bra, and in my hat, and it lasts 7 minutes.
and then
And
the
then
press.
it'll dry out immediately, and it'll be like crispy, and then they're kind of more ice.
Oh man, it's like nothing else in the world, isn't it?
It really isn't, and then it's extraordinary because then at the end you go up Mount Whitney, which is the tallest mountain in contiguous USA. You're starting at the lowest point in America as well. So you go from the lowest point to the highest point, and amazingly, they're only 135 miles apart. Um, and you're
Mm.
boiling, boiling, boiling hot. It's insufferable. And then you get 13 miles away from the top of Mount Whitney. You're out of the desert, but it's still roasting hot. It's like 36 degrees. Lovely. In a place called Lone Pine, where you can buy some more ice, and there's also a McDonald's. Um, and then and then you start to make the ascent up Mount Whitney, which is about 13 miles, and then at the top of that, it's absolutely gorgeous. There's waterfalls, there's pine trees, but that only really happens that the air suddenly cools in maybe the last 5 miles. So you're just roasting, and then last 5 miles, it's lovely, absolutely lovely.
To put that mountain at the end of that race is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absolutely savage, yeah. But when I made it to Lone Pine, which I've never been in so much pain physically in a race in my life, and I started the ascent up Mount Whitney. I can't quite explain it. It's probably the hardest race on paper I've done, but it wasn't the hardest race mentally and emotionally that I've done because I wanted to do it for so long. And
Mm.
Mm.
I just knew once I started the ascent, I was okay. I mean, I wasn't the fastest at all, but I was okay time wise. I just knew I was going to make it. To forget the pain, I knew I was going to make it, and so I felt really good here. And in my head, I just knew it was happening. And I'd waited so long for this. And I can remember, but like, absorb, take it all in, Susie. Enjoy this moment. Enjoy this moment. Um, and so it was really joyous last few miles. I was in agony, but I can't quite explain how I felt. I felt so pleased, so proud of what I'd done. And I knew it was done no matter what. All I have to do is keep moving forward. And so it was such a moment where I've been in other races, which are probably technically a little bit easier, thinking I'm at death's door. So,
That's the feeling of finishing that race. That's what we all chase, really, isn't it? With these long races where you can sort of explore and really get to know yourself that deeply. And I'm still looking for that, I think. But
oh, it never ends. You won't find it, Robin, honestly. You just keep looking for it, mate.
yeah,
Just got to keep doing it, isn't it?
that's why people just keep running further and further
Keep
until
running,
I get.
yeah, keep running.
Have you done Spartathlon?
No, I'm just not fast enough, I don't think. I
That's
don't think I'm fast enough.
You do
Have
have to
you
be
done
ridiculously
not
fast.
to try it because that must be. I mean, that on paper.
if I could qualify, but I don't think I'd qualify. I don't think I'm too old. I think I've missed that boat. I think that ship has sailed. I think I'm too slow now. I mean, I would if I'd had the opportunity, and I'd have a go at Western States 100%. Who wouldn't? And that would be, I'll just keep applying. Um, no, I don't think I'm fast enough. I really do. I'd have a go, but I think I'd be pushing it a bit.
Really? Yeah, I know you do. Those first few checkpoints of really sharp cutoffs.
Yeah, they're sharp. Yeah, and actually for Badwater, the first 50 miles is quite tight as
Mm.
well. So you have to run it, and the cutoff time is the same, regardless of your start wave. And I got put because I did really well in one of the other bad in a couple of the other Badwater races because I was training so hard.
Oh,
That
I
I got
remember you did the other ones, didn't you?
yeah, I did the other ones. And I got put in quite a fast wave, and I was having an absolute meltdown about being put in this wave because I didn't think I should have been there. because I'd have to run quite hard for the first 50 miles, and running quite hard for the first 50 miles through Death Valley doesn't really set you up for success for the following 85. But I made the cutoff. I was within the hour.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The stress, the stress.
Yes, that's yeah. You don't want to be running fast in that heat, really, do
Well,
you?
I had to. I mean, I was sort of. It was fine. It was fine. I was sort of on paper. It was like, yes, I can do that, but
Yes.
don't know. I didn't have much time. I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to mess around with anything. Didn't have time to have a proper full blown crew stop. I was just constantly on the move for the first 50, and then got past the point of cutoff point, and then I had like a bit more of a minute. I think I've sat down for the first time. Had like a 5 minute break.
Wow.
What sort of mileage do you do week by week these days?
40 to 50. I try and sort of get 50-ish miles done, somewhere between the two. I've cut the last year, I've really cut down, not really cut down. I've just been a little bit kinder to myself because so I'll pick it up. So now I'm a bit more race focused, where I used to just do 50 miles a week, regardless, and then just rock up to races. Now I'm a bit more race specific. Um, and I'm trying to balance it out with a bit more strength,
Yo,
bike. I love the Peloton, yeah, yoga. So just trying to just be a bit more mindful. I'm trying to future-proof myself a little bit, and do more cross training just because of where I am, where my body is, and sort of the age I'm at. I think actually it's probably more sensible to rather than just keep running miles and miles and miles and miles to actually just do lift up some weights, do some strength, and maybe a little bit more. I'm a lot more choosy about where I spend my energy, and that's sort of governed by the job which I do, where I have to run all the time now, rather than just sort of go and run a race as hard as I can, and then just be broken for 2 weeks and not have to worry about it. Now I have to be much more mindful of
Yeah.
that. So I'm sort of future-proofing myself, looking after myself for the job that I do, and just being a little bit more choosy about the ultra marathons that I pick. Um,
you did
yeah, so it's a
me, didn't you? And you were taking a class like 2 days later, and I
what
remember
was that? Sorry.
what? How on earth have you are you able to do that?
Oh, for which race was that?
I can't remember, but I'm sure it was one
Oh yeah, a
earlier
50.
this.
Yeah,
And you
yeah. I
were,
did Wendover Woods, which was 12,000 foot of elevation in 50 miles, and then I had to go to work on Monday.
and I
I'm very
amazing.
well. I'm very. I've got a very sort of hard recovery routine, which I do. Is like the ice bath, hot bath. I really do look after myself. I'll say for anything up to about 50, 60 miles, I can sort of get away with it because I've done my
Mm,
body's sort of
condition.
been there a lot. 100 milers and more take it out of me a lot more now, I would say. But taken me years to get to that point, so I really wouldn't recommend, I really wouldn't advocate running, t 2 days after you've done an ultra marathon because it's not something which you can do unless your body is quite used to it. And fortunately, um, mine is. But I'm also super good at all the sleeping and the eating, which I am very good at. So all that sort of recovery stuff's on point.
What's it like having running as your job?
Mm.
How much running do you do with the Peloton classes sort of
Yeah.
every week? Like,
So it depends on what classes I have lined up, but generally it's anything from I'm going to say about 8 to 16 miles a week. It's sort of there or thereabouts. And I did think about this before I took the job, like, well, now it's actually my job. Is it going to take is it going to take away
Yeah.
something? But not at all. And what it has done, it's I don't know how to say it's like sounding a bit cheesy, but it's kind of quite humbling because I started running quite late and I was never a runner. I know some people just naturally they start running and they're very good at it. I've had to work quite hard for everything that I've done in my running. I couldn't run a mile when I started, but then nobody can they, when they start running? Nobody's sort of born running 1 mile, are they? What it has done is really made me reconnect with running in a different way. When you spend a lot of time with ultra runners in the ultra running world, it people can get a little bit blasé and things get normalized very quickly. So within
Mm.
2 years of being in the ultra running world, I've got friends like, oh, do you want to go out for a marathon on Saturday? You're like, yeah, sure, cool, let's do that. This seems normal, and it's not normal. It's not normal to go for a 30-mile training run. Like this is what ultra runners do, and that you and I was very much in that world. And then I joined Peloton, and people are on that platform at various different stages of where they are in their running. And it's just been really great to reconnect at that level, particularly the beginners. So you have somebody that's new, they've just bought their tread, they've started running for the first time, and there's a some of the people that are frequent in my classes who just started running with me. And some of them now have done marathons, some of them have now done ultra marathons, and I've been with them every step of that journey. And it's just really, really lovely to be reminded that actually you don't need to run an ultra marathon to be brilliant at running, to get something from it. You can actually just have your first 5K, finish running the first non-stop 20 minutes for it to be meaningful. And so I've really enjoyed just reconnecting with that side of running.
Mm.
Lovely.
That's great.
Mm.
Is I've got a 5K run club. We just every Thursday, me and sort of 7 or 8 other people, we just go for a really easy sort of 35 to 40 minute 5K. And it's
Yeah.
just to keep some people, mainly the main focus was to keep people doing something after they'd finished couch to 5K.
Yeah.
And now it's just such a lovely bunch of people.
It's, it's exactly that feeling. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably more driven by the community and that connection that running creates rather than the running. And and that's also, I mean, that crosses over with ultra running. Again, you can be in an ultra marathon
Mm.
and you don't know this person. It's the middle of the night. You're sharing your life story, and the connection is the running. It's such a unifying thing. It's not really about demographic, age, any of those things. Um, and that's yeah. It's I absolutely love running. For those reasons, more than being able to run which I can't do anymore. I get more satisfaction out of that than running like a super fast mile or 5K, which I can't do anymore. But that's very much for me one of the most joyful and longer lasting feelings that you get from running.
Mm. Sort of brought it full circle for you in a way, hasn't it? Like
Yeah,
that, because you started, was it your brother who got you to do a half marathon?
yeah, yeah. He stopped running, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
has it? Have you
yeah,
ruined it
yeah,
for him?
yeah. It is very much a. It was really, really grounding to do the job that I do and hear from other people. And I get a lot of people sharing their experiences, like they've signed up for their first race and it's daunting, and it's like, yeah, I can completely understand because I've been that person too. So it's a real privilege to be able to do that, because doing that job, people are sort of giving up their energy and
Mm.
their time, which are two huge things that are theirs to share with you. So never lost on me.
Lovely.
I think we have to stop it there. Thank you so much, Susie. It's been lovely to see you and catch up with you.
Yes, you have to come back to Peloton, Kate. You come for a class.
Do you know what? I will. I will.
Care of you, please
I am-
come.
I'm up to 4 miles now, so I might
Are
actually.
you? Okay, yes, perfect, perfect, perfect.
All
Uh,
right. Thank you so much.
no worries. We'll keep in touch.
Yes.